Hi, I'm Esther, and this is my Flosstube number 34. Hi, and welcome to my channel. I am often asked how I'm able to stitch that many stitches in just one day and at the same time keeping track of my stitching. And that is one of the things I'm going to tell you in this video. I'm recording this video in the middle of a storm that doesn't culminate until midnight. They have promised up to 23, 24, 26 meters per second, which is a very, very strong. Some places here in Denmark have already begun to being flooded because of there's way too much water around us, and the storm, the wind presses way more water into the harbors and stuff, and then there isn't enough room for the water, and which is why it starts to flood. Well, but this is not a weather channel, so let's get on with the stitching, shall we? As you might have noticed already from my thumbnail, I actually have some haul this time. Yay! I haven't had any decent amount of haul for several months. But this time I did have some haul, and actually I haven't received all of it yet. But anyway, I went to Casa Chinina some days ago. And I was only browsing just because it made me feel good and maybe put something on my wish list. But then all of a sudden it popped up with 15% for 2-3 hours. Maybe it was more. I don't remember. But anyway, I decided, okay, I did save up a little bit of money. So I was, sorry, that was Scipio. So I was going to shop, and boy did I shop, and it was wonderful. But I will tell you more about that later, because first, the main topic of this video is how I get all that time to stitch. Before I start, it's important for me to emphasize that you should always stitch the way that suits your lifestyle. I'm not saying that my method is the correct one or the best one. I'm just saying that it works perfectly for me. Since I started stitching again in March of 2020, I have optimized, if you can call it that, the way that I stitch and kit up stuff and, everything that has to do with my stitching, so that I spend as little time as possible with all the stuff around it, and that altogether gives me more time to stitch. Of course, I also get extra time to stitch because the only one I need to feed is myself as well as my cats. I have no husband, no children, and of course that gives me extra time. And also it might happen from time to time that I skip the cleaning of the house 1 day or 2 days just because I feel more like stitching than cleaning the house. When I get a new pattern that might be from Patreon, or maybe it's a freebie, or maybe I purchased one, then I immediately load it into Pattern Keeper. Not that it means that I necessarily will start stitching it right away, but just because I do not stitch unless the pattern is in Pattern Keeper. And in this way, I know exactly which patterns I have. So you could also say that Pattern Keeper keeps track of my patterns. That's not absolutely 100% true, because I do on my computer have very old patterns from Danish magazines that I have scanned but not yet loaded into Pattern Keeper, because I'm not going to stitch them anyway soon. So the most important thing is that I don't stitch paper patterns. If I can only get a project on a paper pattern, I'm not going to stitch it if I cannot find a way to get it into Pattern Keeper. Sometimes, if I'm too tired to stitch, and yes, that do happen, I instead kit up projects between 1 and 10 or so. And yesterday I kitted up 9 projects, and the day before I kitted up 2 projects. So now I have 11 new projects that are ready to go. I might start some of them tonight. I'm not sure I'm going to edit this Flosstube today. I might just start with the editing tomorrow. I don't know yet. Since I stitch in hand, I do not need to prepare a hoop or a Q-snap or a scroll frame. A scroll frame. Why was that so hard to say? So I don't need that. I can just pull out my project and start stitching. Also, I do not use bobbins. That means I do not spend hours and hours to wind up on the bobbins. I don't use floss drops unless I have 3 or more fancy flosses in a project. I will come back to what I do instead. So apart from projects with 30 or more colors in it, it usually just takes me between 2 and 15 minutes to kit up a project, including with the floss toss. Yeah, I'm going to show you that in a moment. I would like to emphasize though that even though I prefer to have as much stitching time as possible, I also do like sometimes to kind of get lost in the process of kitting up stuff. You know, maybe this fabric, maybe this, and I mean taking my time. So sometimes I do that. I did that yesterday, for example. I did stitch yesterday, but not until 7 or 8 o'clock in the evening. Yeah. I do have a book, this one, but it's not a fancy book like all those stitches planners I see on various floss tubes. I also have a very simple notebook to keeping track of my stitching numbers, but that's about it. What do I do when I kit up stuff? First, when I kit up project, and let me find a project to show it to you. This is one of the projects I kitted up the other day. So let's assume I have already put the project into Pattern Keeper, and then I open it in the Pattern Keeper so that I have the list of floss, and then I go and find all the floss. Okay, so this one is Sweet Christmas, which I'm going to start pretty soon, I think. First, I find the floss, and then I do the floss toss so that I get the suitable fabric to it. And then I take a lot of these bags and put into the project bag along with these colors. And then when I start stitch, let's say that I start with this color, then I pull the thread, and then because I have opened this color, you can say, I then thereafter put it into a bag, because then I can have the extra floss without mixing up the colors. So I do not put all the colors into a bag at immediately. I only do it when I start stitching with the color. And this works very good for me, because then I don't get the colors mixed up. Because sometimes, as you can see here, there are, for example, 2 browns and stuff like that. Sometimes when you have more colors, it's even more difficult to keep them apart. So this is how I kit up a project. After I kit up a project, when I want to start stitching it, I'm not writing before. Yeah, sometimes I am. I do have these stickers, which I printed from on my printer. Yeah, sorry for the glare, but as you can see, there are all the infos that I need. So I fill that out, and when I start stitching the project, sometimes I don't write it until I started the project. Sometimes I write it beforehand and then just put it into the book, as you can see. And those little round stickers, as you can see, are throughout the book. It just means FFOs, fully finished objects. And the color is a different year. And in 2025, I'm going to start all over again with the green dots. This works perfectly for me. I know it doesn't look as fancy as a lot of your planners, but it saves me a lot of time, and I still have all the infos on my projects. Also, every time I sit down and stitch, as soon as I stop stitching on a project, I will take a photo of my progress, and then I will write down here in this little book. I will write the date, the name of the project, if it's a new start or an FO, and then how many numbers, and sometimes it's a BS and it stands for backstitching. As you can see, on the 11th of September, I actually stitched on 3 different projects. This takes 1-2 minutes, and then I can move on to the next project. If I'm not at home, I usually don't bring this book with me, but then I just take a screenshot from Pattern Keeper. Then I know I have the number of stitches, and the screenshot itself also includes dates, etc. So I have all the infos I need to put it into my book when I get home. So that works very well for me. As you have probably noticed, I have recently started doing a monthly, let's see if I can say it this time, statistics. Wait, I said it. Yay. And it's quite easy to do that, and it doesn't take that long, depending on how many projects I have been working on. Between 10 and 15 minutes, and then I have all the infos I need. So I write down the projects and all the numbers, and let's say I have 3 different kind of stitch numbers in a project. That means I have worked on it for 3 days. And then I add all the numbers together, and I also have this list of WIPs which I share with you on my Google Docs, and usually it's up to date. And I have my list of FOs and FFOs, which is also up to date. And so it's very easy for me to put together this statistics. I think the more I say the word, the better I will be at saying it. So eventually, someday, I will actually be able to saying it without having to pause first. Yeah, I think I have said everything I want to say about the way I stitch and how I get the most out of my time. But in case I did forget something or you have additional questions, please ask me in a comment. Now it's time for haul. As I told you, I shopped at Casa Chinina. And why is this? Sorry. First of all, I got some black rickrack and some brown pom-poms, mini pom-poms. And then I was at this LNS, which is not a real LNS because they have a lot of other stuff than stitching stuff. They only just have a little DMC and that's about it, and some Ada, and that's it. I bought vinyl, quite a lot. I still would like to learn how to stitch project bags with a vinyl front. I bought two kinds. This is a pretty thick one, and this is a thin one. And the thin one was pretty cheap, I think. 35 kroner a meter, and the other one 50 kroner a meter. So, and I keep it like this because then it doesn't get any, yeah, I hope it will. I think this is the way to keep it. So, that's vinyl. And I also bought, I mean, when I ordered at Casa Chenina, I don't know why, I forgot to order 434 and 436. And the shop yesterday only had 436 at home, so I had to order 434 online. And I accidentally also bought some fabric, and well, you will see that in my next Flosstube. I also bought this 4 meters because it was only 5 kroner a meter. That's very cheap. I think it will be absolutely great for Halloween projects. And they also had some silver rickrack, which can be used for Christmas. Yeah, a lot of stuff. And I think there's 3 meters here, so it wasn't that expensive either. Well, when I was shopping at Casa Chenina, I of course bought some fabric. 18 count Confederate grey. I love this grey. I don't know why, but I've always liked it a lot. And not that I stitch much on black. This is 16 count, even though it does look like 18 count. No, it should be 16 count. I just think it looks that small. I think they by mistake gave me 18 count black because it has the same. It's the same size as the Confederate grey. Oh well. And then this one. It's called Castagna in Italian, and it's the most beautiful brown color. I have absolutely no idea what I'm going to stitch in it, but I'm pretty sure I will find a pattern or two that suits it. And these 3 are all fat quarters. And of course, I cannot shop at Casa Chenina without buying some fabric. So this is 16 count antique white Ada. And 18 count, and there's 2 meters of this. Not that I'm going to dye anytime soon, but now I can, if I suddenly feel the urge to dye some fabric. Talking about dyeing fabric, I have, I had dyed a lot of 32 count and found out that even weave, and found out that no, it's not for me to stitch on. So I tried to see if I could sell it, but problem is that shipping costs from Denmark are they're crazy. So it seems I can't sell it, so I'm now just probably going to use it as regular fabric to use as back on stitching projects, because I mean it would be stupid just to throw it out, right? And I cannot stitch on it, so that's probably going to be my solution. So it's not completely a complete waste of money and time to have dyed it, and then I can't get rid of it. I mean, I can't sell it because of the shipping costs. That's really annoying, but that's just how it is. So now some people might say that, well, maybe they don't like the way I dye. That could also be the reason, but I actually did manage. I have sold quite a lot of fabrics before, but back then the shipping costs weren't as high as now, and the financial situation has changed all over the world. So I think that's the reason why. Okay, so this was my haul. Now it's time to get to some projects. So I have decided to skip 3 projects, at least for now. The first one is, I talked about this in my last video. This is Happy Boo Day. I haven't stitched on it for 2 or 3 years. And the other one is Fright Night. I have recently stitched more than 300 stitches on this, but it has fractional stitches, and I do not like fractional stitches, especially not on Ada. So if I have not been thinking about this for a year, I'm going to unkit it. And the same goes for Lord of the Rings. This is my 3rd attempt to start it, and it's so full of fractional stitches. Every person is full of fractional stitches, and no. So I'm pretty sure I don't have to wait a year for this. I'm just going to have to unpick it, because this is a whole fat quarter, and it's called, no, I dyed it. So, but it's 25 count, so at least I can stitch on it. This time I have 2 FFOs and 1 FO, so 2 fully finished projects. First one is this little stocking, mini stocking. I saw that Elizabeth Anken showed it. She did it in red, and I decided I would like to do it in some of the silks I hand dyed myself. I tried to dye some Christmassy colors. I think it's turned out all right. This is the back side. I think I'm going to stitch another one where I will change the color of the floss, because I don't think that the motifs stand out that clear with this. I mean, as you can see, there's a house there, etc., etc., but I think if you did it in a plain color, a non-variegated color, it would probably be easier to see. Or maybe I should have done it on darker fabric with the same floss. Maybe I'll do 2 more, but maybe not this year. But anyway, it's an easy stitch. It's 1010 stitches, so I can do it in 1 day. And yeah, I also finished it and fully finished it the same day. So I don't know what you call that. And then this project, Happy Haunting by Lola Crow Stitch. I loved working on this project. And this time, I mean, it's in a frame, but no glass, because as you can see, it's pretty thick. Because I put it on a board, and this I also put on a board, and you might be able to see it's velvet in a burgundy, maroon, whatever you call that color, that actually fits the color in the project. I loved stitching on this one. I worked on it for 6 days, and I did 6,412 stitches, and then it was done. And this one, actually, it stands over there at the moment. As you can see, I have some of my Halloween stuff over there. Not much, but a little bit. And yeah, I love this one. And then I had a little SAF. I call it micro garden. I worked on it for one day. I did 1,298 stitches and also some beading, as you can see. And I'm pretty happy with it. And I will probably turn it into a little pillow eventually. Yeah. And now it's time for whips. The first one is a FOs and it's the vintage pumpkin carriage. I worked on it for one day and I stitched 265 stitches. And the fabric is fabric I hand dyed myself, and it's almost true to the color, and still I think it's a little more green in reality. But I still, by the way, you can read more about the project's infos in the Google Docs document. I will put a link in the description box. I really like this stitch. The next project is also a project by the FOs. It's Kiss the Librarian. I worked on it for one day and I stitched 70 stitches. Yeah. Then I pulled out one of my older whips, En Retard from Madame Chantilly, and I worked on this house, and it's almost done now. This is a kind of a slow stitch. I mean, I did her Halloween town, and that was a slow stitch also. And then all of a sudden, when I had stitched about 5 of the houses or so, all of a sudden I turned almost monogamous, and then I just stitched on it until it was done. That might happen with this one too, but I don't know yet. This is one of the paper copies that I had to put into Pattern Keeper, and that's always a bit more annoying to stitch when I cannot search the symbols. So those of you who follow me on Instagram will have noticed that the day before yesterday I pulled out for the first time in months my temperature houses. I put in 894 stitches, but as you can see, I prepared the whole month of July as well as August. So now I can just stitch them without having to think about, without having to look up which colors I need to use. So maybe I should keep this for a stitch chat. Maybe I could prepare September as well. And then eventually I think there's soon another stitch chat that I can attend. Let's see. Now it's the last whip. I already mentioned it in Curator's Corner when I talked about my haul, because this is Sewing Cats from Solar Stitch, which I haven't been stitching on for 2 years or more, if not 3. I don't remember anymore. I could look it up, but I'm not going to do that. I have decided that every time I want to stitch on this, and it looks like this, that before I start stitching crosses, I have to do 1 strand of backstitching, because this project has so incredible much backstitching. Just look at that white cat. So when I started it yesterday, I took 1 strand of black and I did the backstitching here. So if I'm going to stitch on it today, I will go on with the backstitching here, and maybe I can finish the white cat's backstitching. I'm not sure. That 1 strand will be enough. And then after I could I could finish the white cat because it still needed some stitches, I think about 50 or so. I don't remember if I already said that I did 769 stitches on it. And then I stitched this cat. And I find it so cute. And yeah, the backstitching is a pain, but it looks absolutely wonderful with the backstitching. And I still love this project. So, as I told you, I have been kitting up a lot of stuff, and I'm not going to show you all the floss and the fabric. I mean, I'm going to show it like this, but I will put up a picture of the project. So, this one is different autumn circles, I call them. As you can see, they are from a magazine, from Just Cross Stitch. And I found a lot of them very cute, and therefore I decided to stitch them. So here are, I don't know if I'm going to stitch them all, but I put in all the colors called for. This one is a new one from Solar Stitch. It's called Witch's Shoe. And this one is Broomstick Brigade. That's also from Just Cross Stitch, I think. This is called Pussy Pose. And this one is, I think it's Soda Stitch as well. Yeah, it's called Meoween. Not Halloween, but Meoween, because it's full of cats, as you can see. And then here is Polar Night Sighting. That's a full coverage. I have showed it. I think I showed it in my last, or the Flosstube before the last one. 3 new projects I had kitted up. This is Sweet Christmas, which I'm going to start very soon, I think. And this is Trouble Driving a Stick. I find it so very funny, so I thought I have to stitch this one. And this is the FOs Fight Like a Girl. And I'm putting it on blue because my Buffy sampler, where I still need to do a lot of backstitching, is also on blue. So I thought that would be a good idea. This one is going to be a portrait of a very young Paul McCartney. It's full coverage as well, and it's not going to be bigger than this. So, and the last one is also FOs. I'm going to show you this fabric because I love this fabric. I think it's I'm going to use it for How to Survive a Horror Movie. So I really like it, and I think it's going to be alright. If you follow me on Instagram, you might have noticed that yesterday I made a story as well as a post about my Advent Stitching Challenge. And I hope you would like to join. I think that could be fun. And I did not do it as a hard challenge, and it's up to you how much you want to stitch on a project. I mean, if you just stitch 10 stitches on a project, you can still participate. Also, if you stitch 500 or more. So, and of course, I will put the infos up again when we get closer to the December 3rd. But you're more than welcome to join, and I hope a lot of you would like to join. So that was the stitching for today. I only got a little bit of knitting left. So if that's not something that interests you, thank you for watching, and I hope to see you again next time. I've only been knitting on one project, and actually, I don't know if I already showed you this. I didn't say that in the German video, but maybe. Oh, never mind. I'm going to show it now. So maybe you already saw that I got this far, because I don't think I knitted that much in the last couple. I haven't knit for a week now at least. So maybe you already saw this one. But I still like it. I still find the colors very beautiful, and it's soft because it got silk in it. But anyway, this was my video for this time. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope to see you next time again. Take care. Bye.